Hey, we're back with another edition of the G.A.C. North Coaches Preview. Trying to keep all the North, Central, South. I mean, it
is a little movement this year, so
it's a lot, but I'm not. I mean, Brian has a lot more experience, so he goes through it. Anyway, before I forget, like I did earlier on a different show, this is Coach Sugar, who is first-year coach. Congratulations on the job.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I mean, being a head coach, that's exciting.
It's very exciting.
Scary, exciting. There's a lot there.
All the above, yeah, but I'm ready to go. I'm ready to talk some ball.
Well, good news. That's the only reason I'm here. So that's good. No, you're from Zumwalt East. Played. Obviously we were talking earlier. I remember you playing, which I did not enjoy playing against you, but it's okay. No, your team in 11 was really good. You started Zumwalt East off with some winning years and had a lot of success.
Yeah, I took a lot of pride in that. Like just building that from the ground up. Like I still drive past that school all the time and got a lot of pride in that. So,
and then you coached there for some.
Yeah, I mean, I was there for the last 2 years on JV, and can't say any more good things about Hill and Lonzie. Like those two guys, like they're the reason I'm sitting here talking to you right now. I kind of, when I got to my senior year, I started thinking like, what do I want to do with my life? And they made a huge impact on me, and that was kind of what I wanted to do. So, just the fact that I was able to go back and do that before, end up getting my head job, like. It was honestly a dream come true, and just kind of being their colleague now on the other side, it's been fun. It's been a blast.
Are they on the schedule for this year?
Oh yeah, It's early April. I think it's maybe the second or third week. I think it's on like a Friday. So we right when I got the job, we talked and we're like every year, like this is happening every single year. So
that's gonna be. It'll be. I know. I coach. I'm from Howe. I coached at Central and at North for a short time. So going back, like when I would go back to CNH and I was on the other side, I'm like, this feels very strange.
Yeah, I mean, I've had experience. Like, I've been to, I feel like 5 different schools in the G.A.C. between baseball and softball. So I've been on the other side. I've actually coached a varsity game against Hill before when I was at Liberty. So, it wasn't officially mine at that point, but now that it is, it's going to be a blast.
Game on. He's got to go down.
Yes, I hope so.
Well,
we're going there. So
that's the goal.
Yes, the goal, of course, is to get the, my old coach. So,
and that's the fun part about. Obviously, there's some guys that I've coached. They're now coaching, and guys I play. Well, me and Eric Goff grew up together.
Yeah, right.
So when we would play against each other, it's always like, man, love you, but
you're going out today.
One of us is going to leave here unhappy, but.
Right.
Anyway, so we'll get to the actual team now. And looking at this, I mean, you got several guys coming back. It looks like you got some arms coming back. I know, obviously, it's your first year there, so you haven't got a chance to see a lot of these guys play. But looking at their stats, I'm sure you've heard from other coaches and seen things. So, and the guy that jumps off, obviously, starting at catcher, those are freshman numbers, hitting 420. You want to talk about Blake a little bit?
I think getting a state nod as a freshman, that says a lot.
Yes.
Like, he's a big, tall, lanky kid, really good kid. My wife actually has him in class, has really good things to say about him.
Well, that's even better.
Which is a very big positive.
So he's not, I mean, being mean to the coach's wife would probably be detrimental.
I'd say so.
So that's good.
I would say so.
Good job, Blake.
He's definitely going to be kind of our plug in the middle of the order there. He was last year. And, we're really looking for him to kind of keep on that upward trajectory. I feel like a lot of those, younger freshman guys that burst on the scene, I feel like there's always a dip year. And whether it be like sophomore or junior, for whatever reason, I think that there's going to be more of a target on his back because last year he comes in and it's like, he's freshman. He's, just burst on the scene and now everybody knows who he is. Mm-hmm. So I think that's going to be the challenge for him. Is going to be the fact that he's going to be the one that pitchers are targeting in the middle of our order. Yeah. So he's going to have to make sure, he's on his game and he's going to have to make adjustments to the plate. And I think that, guys around him, we're going to have some protection because, like I said, those pitchers are going to the best of their ability, try and pitch around that dude because he is an absolute stud.
And you start getting pitched differently.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, as a freshman, it's like, it's a freshman. Oh, I can blow a fastball by you. Yeah.
You can't now. Yeah.
All of a sudden you hit 420 and people are like, we don't do that anymore.
Right.
So, and it is tough coming. I mean, you see it that kind of dip year because as a freshman or sophomore, whenever you come up, there's no expectations. You're just kind of playing.
Right.
And then when people expect things, it becomes more challenging. But
And it's just, it's just added pressure, you
Yeah.
know, and I feel like, as a ball player, you got to be able to handle that. And
you work
that's-
through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's going to be something that he's going to have to work through. And I absolutely think he will.
Well, having him 1 year of experience, then you have him for 3.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough to find a catcher, but much less elite catcher, and then have him for a long time.
That's the dream.
So
Don't gotta worry about it
foundation,
anymore.
it's pretty good starting behind the plate. So
Right.
that's always a beautiful thing. Moving out to the infield, up to middle, second, shortstop. I know obviously you have different options. Kind of what are you thinking?
So right now we've got a returner in Bryce Daniel. He's going to be a senior for us. Hit, I think he was about 350 last year.
348. Good
348.
job.
It was pretty close.
I was cheating. I was looking at notes. He knew it.
So he was a guy, again, he was in the middle order last year, from what I understood, and I think he played a lot of shortstop. So he just committed to East Central probably about a month and a half ago.
Yeah, I saw it.
So I think he's going to factor in somewhere. Now, whether it be short, second, third, I think he's probably projected to be more of a corner guy in college. And I think he realizes that as well. But I think he's going to be somewhere on the infield. And somebody that, as I was talking about with Holler, like we need someone to protect him. I think that's going to be one of Bryce's big jobs, is to be able to give that protection to Holler so he does get some pitches to handle.
Yeah, and as a senior, he's obviously been through it, and
Yeah.
he should be able to do that job.
Yeah, and he's had a couple of arm surgeries, a couple of issues with his elbow, but we're kind of hoping this year to get him back on the bump a little bit, maybe in a relief role, which we kind of need that. So again, he's going to factor in. I think he's going to be a big part of our team. And again, just kind of where he's going to be. It's, I was talking to you before the show. It's like a lot of these guys I've never seen play before. So it's like I think tryouts are going to be super interesting. It's going to be a really interesting week, trying to figure out like who's going to be on, varsity, JV, and C.
Yeah.
And then B, like where everybody's going to fit in. I think it's going to be, more than anybody else. Like it's just going to be a competition from day one of tryouts until, obviously the end of the year, but until I got to ride a lineup on day one.
And that's awesome.
Oh yeah, I
Because
think
anyone coming in is like, man, I'm going to compete and see what happens. There's a fresh slate for everyone.
I think it's super unique. I think it's unique for the guys too, because like again, you get a whole new set of eyes. Like we have a couple returning coaches, but like I have not been in the program, so it's like I'm coming in fresh. They get a clean slate. And again, I think that's good for some kids. Like again, some kids feel like they get buried at times just because of preconceived notions and
There's some bias, and there's even as coaches, you don't want to have them, but sometimes you just view a kid a certain way, and it takes someone else pointing out that maybe there's potential that you didn't see. I mean, that's why you have multiple coaches, and just getting a fresh head coach and fresh eyes on you opens up opportunities.
Yeah.
So, well, with Bryce, I mean, I know Bryce. I've seen, unfortunately, I got the part of Bryce that was the arm surgery, so I'm glad he's over that, and congratulations, Bryce, on committing. Hopefully you have a great year. So you got him on the infield at one of the spots. Other options out there.
So I think we're gonna have Brady Rosenberg was a guy that was also at the middle for us last year. He kind of played a little short, little second. He also pitches for us. He had a rough start to the season offensively, but everything I've heard, he kind of picked it up towards the end of the year, which is really good sign from a sophomore.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be those growing pains early in the year. Like it doesn't matter what level you are, north, south, central, whatever. Like
Speed of the game changes.
yeah, 1,000%. So I think a lot, like if what that tells me is like he learned and made adjustments throughout the year and is starting to figure out like, hey, this is what I have to do to compete at the varsity level. So we're kind of looking at him to kind of take off offensively and be a guy that we can really rely on. So I think between his outings on the mound, like he's going to find a way to play on the infield in some fashion. Just kind of depends where. Again, like I said, clean slate. We'll figure out where he goes.
Who has the best actions? What is pretty typical or consistent? If they can hit, they're probably going to find a way onto the field.
That was me. Because I knew I could not field. So originally I was a second baseman coming in, and Hill's like, nope, you're not a second baseman. So he threw me in left my freshman year. Nope, not a left fielder. It's like, how about we go to first? So I played first for 3. So that was me. I was a guy that like I could hit a little bit. I was not known for my defense. So again, I'm the perfect example of like if you hit, you're gonna find a spot. Yeah.
And then you come in, you can hit, you can find a way onto the field. So, and just I think part of it, especially when you're younger, freshman, sophomore, you get in the lineup, you get an opportunity. it takes some success before you get that confidence. And then once you start rolling, because at first it's like you start doubting yourself, like, can I play at the varsity level? It takes a couple, it could be 5, 10 games, and all of a sudden you start to barrel balls.
Yeah.
Then you start rolling, and then
Something clicks.
go from there.
Yeah,
'Cause
yeah.
I've seen a lot of kids start really, really slow, and I'm like, maybe I was really wrong about this kid, and he ends up being great. I mean, Nate Orff, I was like, he did not look good as a sophomore.
Yeah.
He stayed on JV. He turned out okay.
He did turn out okay.
He ended up in the big league, so he's the only position player to make it from Francis out to the big leagues.
That kind of surprises me.
We've only had 2 make it to the big leagues: Brett Graves and Nate Orff.
I know Brett Graves very well.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was okay.
He was all right. He
was
definitely did not get me in the last out of that district championship game.
I'm sure Brett's watching, but
Hey, Brett. You got me.
you can watch that at bat on YouTube.
No, you
Apparently
can't.
some-
No, you can't. Nope, not there anymore.
Deleted. So you got Rosenberg, you got Daniel, 2 options in the middle, other infield options.
So on the corners, we got a lot of options at first base. So we've got Matt Lambeck,
Yeah.
who I think struggled a little bit last year, but was a guy that you have those guys every year that you don't really expect to pop. And he was a guy that his sophomore year popped, and he was I think he was a leading hitter for us 2 years ago. Had a down year last year. He's a guy that could potentially factor in somewhere offensively and at first base. Titus Fisher's another one, lefty. He plays a little outfield as well, but he could potentially play first. And then Braden Comer's another one. Braden Comer, very tall kid, pitcher as well. But he factored in first base. So I think first base, honestly, just kind of wide open.
Whoever hits.
Whoever hits. Yep. And again, that's a position, if a guy's hitting, potentially we could throw. And again, I'm telling you right now, first base is not an easy position to play.
No.
A lot of it's footwork, I've come to find. But
And with a lot of these guys, I know it's always a battle when you have guys that play, they go pitch, but you need their bat in the lineup. A lot of times they end up at first base just in between outings, just to keep them in the lineup and keep. I think, and everyone you've talked about, it's like, hey, he plays left field, he pitches. He plays short, he pitches. Like,
it's a small school.
Trying to find that balance of, okay, how do we keep you in the lineup without putting your arm under pressure? Because I'm not a huge fan of, hey, go throw 100 pitches. Hey, go play shortstop or go catch. It's not exactly ideal. No. And sometimes they land at first base. So it'll be an interesting balancing act for you.
Yeah. And again, that was kind of the gymnastics I figured the last couple of years in regards to like what you're talking about. You don't want a guy to throw 90 pitches and go play defense the next day. So it's like trying to line up your staff to get optimized defense while also resting guys' arms. It's a little difficult. So again, it could be a scenario where you don't throw your number one on day one because potentially number one's your shortstop. So you wanted to play short for a day. So again, it's just kind of figuring out where the pieces fit.
And you got a lot of pieces. Yeah. So that's good news. So first base, basically, hey, if you're trying out first base over there, go take some swings.
Yeah.
Go hit. Third base. Do you talk about third base?
It could be Bryce. That could be Rosenberg. Colin Sinclair's another one. Hoping to get him out this year. Super good athlete. Starting quarterback, starting point guard, and has been for multiple years. And baseball is kind of his third. So I think he's a guy that just athletically can just show up and you can fit him in somewhere. So he could potentially fit there. He can potentially fit at second base.
So he needs to play. I mean, that's
sport.
Football, baseball, basketball is what I played. You should do that. That's fine. Colin, hey, come play some baseball.
If you get 12 letters, you get your name on the board at Orchard Farm. So, yeah.
So you got to have 4.
Yes.
Track, baseball, and basketball, football?
Oh, sorry. Did I do my math wrong?
I don't know.
Teacher. Everybody.
3 years of 4? That's 12. 3 years of 3. 4, 3.
I said 12.
You said 12.
Okay.
I'm not a math teacher.
That was good. I started doubting myself.
You don't doubt yourself. See, the confidence start coming.
I see numbers all day long. It gets
I do not. I teach health and sex ed.
You're the smart man.
Definitely not any.
You're the
trust me, I would take the numbers over the health. I don't. Anyway, we'll get to. Sorry, teachers got distracted. See, for the students, like, well, why are you yelling at me for getting distracted? We do too.
Yeah, we do.
So it happens. Anyway, so Colin's going to play baseball is what we decided.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That's good. So he's out. Anyone else on the infield potentially?
There's some younger guys. guy named Ty Thorpe we'll kind of get to a little bit later with our catching position, which actually we talked about. We're going to have a kind of an opening at backup catcher. So we're kind of looking at a couple younger guys. Ty Thorpe is a sophomore. Threw on JV last year, threw really well too. So that's something that he's got in his corner because everybody needs pitching.
Yeah, you throw strikes again.
Yeah.
You get on the field.
So he plays, he catches, he pitches, he plays second base too. So again, if he shows up and balls out a little bit, as a guy that can find his way in the lineup, and then Landon Prost is another catcher that is going to battle him out for that kind of second spot. So Landon had a pretty good year offensively last year on JV as a freshman. So it's just one of those two guys got to step up. And again, Ty's got that pitching on his side, and he plays second base. So he's a guy, again, infield wise, that could potentially factor in for us.
So does Blake throw it all on the mound?
Great question. I think he does.
Potentially.
I would love if he does. Yeah.
So he's got some arm strength.
Yes. So if he's able to pitch, like that second catcher is going to be super important for us. Especially like that's a kid that, again, we talk about resting our arms. That's a kid, if Blake throws, could potentially go later in the week to kind of, he can catch two games in conference.
Yeah.
Potentially catch a game Friday. And then if we got something on Saturday, like he's a guy who can throw Saturday and
have a couple days to recover.
Yeah. Right.
So that's infield, which sounds like a lot of options, a lot of good options, a lot of returning options. So that's great. In the outfield, I know a lot of times you have your pitcher, outfielder, like you were talking about Titus, which, by the way, great name. Big fan. Might have something to do with it being my son's name, but either way, you must be wonderful.
Did you know there's only been one Titus drafted in the LB draft?
Really?
Yeah. Ever.
That is a fun fact I was unaware of.
Definitely looked it up.
Numbers guy. Mm-hmm. So
big time.
Little fun fact on that. If that's incorrect,
get back to me.
If someone's out there looking that up, well,
they got a lot of time. I wish I had.
I was going to say I do not, but either way, you said Titus plays a little bit of the outfield when he's not pitching. Who else? Do you know center field? Is that returner or is that?
So open? We had Brody Malaris last year, who was a senior, and that was one again. A guy every year pops off. That was a guy that popped off, and he hit above 400 and was super good for us. But he graduates, moves on. So center field wise, we're kind of looking at right now. Younger kid, Lucas Hankey, he's going to be a junior this year. I was able to see him play. We played Orchard Farms JV 2 years ago, and just kind of his mannerisms, the way he walks, like there's guys you see and you're like, that's a ball player.
Yeah, he can do something. Again,
that was the vibe I got from him right off the bat. So he's a guy. He got a little time last year, came up, kind of got a cup of coffee on varsity, and again was kind of in that battle for center field, and then Brody kind of ran away with it. So he's a guy we could potentially see in center. Max Kelch is another one. Really excited about Max. He was about a 380 hitter last year.
So he's going to be in the lineup somewhere.
He's going to be somewhere.
If he hits 380.
He's going to be somewhere. He's going to be, I think, part of our core offensively. And he's more of a utility guy. So he can play infield, but for me, I think he'd be a really good corner outfielder, especially with how he pitches, which I'm sure we'll get to in a little bit. So Kelch will be another one. And then another guy will be Blake Dittmeyer, who, has been on varsity the last 2 years. He got his feet wet his freshman year and then was up last year. And I think is a guy that's going to make that big sophomore to junior jump. And
which is very common.
He has been in the weight room about every day, and he's been moving some weight around, and it's been really impressive to see. And everything I've heard from some of our guys like that have just seen him hit, and they're like, yeah, he's coming along. So he was a guy, and there's something I see, and there's one thing I look at coaching wise, like if I'm making a lineup, is on base percentage. Like that's, if you can get on base, like we can do more with you.
Yep.
And he had a lower average last year, but I think his on base was like 450.
If you're getting on base almost half the time,
like
I don't care how you're getting on base.
No,
just keep doing that.
And that's every single one of the teams I've had. It's just been like, if you can get on base, like it's the money ball deal. If you get on base, you're gonna find a spot. There's more we can do. And again, average is nice. Like it's cool to look at, but like again, your job is to get on base. Whether it be doubles are nice, but whether it be a single, hit by pitch, walk, whatever, get on base, and then we'll see what happens from there. We can start moving guys around. We can start bunting. So he's a guy again. If with a lower average, but a high on base percentage, that tells me a lot. Like again, you can't really teach a really good batter's eye, and the fact that he has it, if he just adds 30 to 50 points on his batting average, like he's going to be
And with strength, the bat speed picks up, everything, like it gets easier.
Yeah.
So just getting prepared. I think a lot of times even weights to me makes you just more confident.
It's so important.
Like just the strength part is there's a benefit there, but just mentally going, I feel strong, I feel better going to the plate knowing I can do damage compared to when you're undersized going, I hope I can just barrel the ball.
Right.
So weight room important for those that don't know.
And that was
get in the weight room.
Yeah, and that was something that like we called a meeting a week into school year, and I stood in front of everybody. I was like, "This is the great separator. Like it's the weight room, 1,000%." And we've had around like 30 guys in and out between September to we just ended last week. So it's good that they're buying in, and I think that we need to have even more buy-in in that fact. Like we'll start. Our open facility stuff here in January once that window opens, and 30 minutes of that's gonna be weights. Just making sure they get in there. And then something I learned from Hill coming back, they do weights twice a week, like during the season. So they'll end practice at 5:00 on Mondays and Thursdays and go up and lift. And that is something I found as a player. Like it was my senior year. I finally during the season because I was always a kid like I'm not gonna lift during the season because I'm gonna be tired, right? And I took a personal fitness class, weight training class during the season. It was the best thing that I ever did. So like that completely changed my mentality in regards to weights. So that's been something.
But there is I think for so long it's been don't lift in season.
Right. Yeah.
But there's a way to lift in season that's appropriate.
Right.
Lifting out of season and season are two different lifts.
Right.
But why lift hard, gain all the strength, and then not lift for 3 months in the season when it's like trying to maintain it and there's ways to do it that is appropriate and absolutely should be done. Yeah. But man, get in the weight room. I mean, I was on a visit at Mizzou at one point, and I mean, Coach Beazer at the time was like the biggest difference between SEC baseball and high school is strength. Like get in the weight. Like it is preached over and over and over. Like get in the weight room. So for you to have 30 guys buying in and getting in there bodes well for you. I mean that's I've
been really excited about that for sure. So. We'll see if it pans out. I think it will. I really do.
But well, it ain't going to hurt.
No, it won't. No.
Nothing else you get off the bus and you scare children. You're like, hey, look, we're bigger and stronger than you. Mm-hmm. Why not? You look good in the unis. So, which is nice, but you want to win the game.
Yeah.
So any other position player before we shift into the pitching?
A couple guys coming up from JV. Sam Martin was a kid. He was a junior last year on JV. One of the higher average hitters. A lot of extra base hits too. Again, we're going to have, Max is going to throw a little bit. Hankey's going to come out of the pen a little bit. So, like, we're going to have more guys come out. So, he's a guy, again, if he can fit into a corner spot and hit, again, we talked about earlier, if you're going to hit, like, you're going to find your spot in the lineup. So, he's a guy we're potentially looking at. And then Maddox Crow's another one. He's going to be a junior this year. Used to be a catcher, but had a little issue with the thumb where, he'd catch and just dislocate. So
probably don't want to keep doing that.
No. So he's moving to corner outfield.
Get as far away.
Yeah. So he's moving to corner outfield. He's hit a little bit as well. So again, we talk about that sophomore junior jump. Like those are for Maddox especially. Like we're hoping that we can get that out of him and Sam again. High average, high extra base hit guy on JV. Hoping that can kind of translate this year to kind of help alleviate a little bit of that. Those holes that we have in the outfield when our guys come in and throw.
Yeah. So speaking of the guys coming in to throw, and you got a lot of arms coming back and some good stats. Yeah. I mean, Rosenberg had 7 starts last year, and Coomer had 5, and Titus, great job, 4 starts. I mean, we're talking about guys that started a lot of games. Oh, and Couch, sorry. Yeah, Couch. I skip Max. No offense, Max. I'm old.
Let me pump up Max a little bit. Do you know? So he threw about 27 innings last year. You know how many walks he had?
I'm hoping it's low.
4.
That's low.
Yeah. So that'll play.
That's
one thing. Again, I talk about the on base percentage with Dittmeyer. Like I see that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Same thing with Max. Like you look at Max, like 27 innings, 4 walks. It's like, okay. All right. We've got
the 2.8 ERA is also not bad.
Yeah, that's that.
I mean, that will play as well. If you keep the other team under 3 runs,
you got a chance.
You're in most games.
Yeah, right. Oh, no question.
So he's, doing a lot of things well. So conference, obviously, you go Tuesday, Wednesday. You obviously got some options here. I'm guessing, which of those guys do you see competing for those 2 slots?
I think it's going to be Rosenberg. Rosenberg was usually got the ball game 1 for us last year.
Yeah.
He'll be in that mix. Kelch will be in that mix, and then Tice are going to be in that fix. I mean, those 3 all sophomores last year and put up some pretty good numbers.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're coming back as juniors this year, like I am elated. Like I am so excited about that for again the next 2 years. You talk about catcher, like you don't have to worry about catcher for 3 years. Like okay, for 2 years we have 3 really good pitchers. So the good thing is, like I was looking at our non-con a couple of days ago, just talking to Hill, and we've got about a 10-game run up before our first conference game, and a lot of that's just going to be figuring out like which of these two are going to roll, and whichever one doesn't, like is going to get a start on non-con. It's going to be a really good non-con starter. So that's going to be a battle. It really is going to be a battle. All 3 of those guys are going to get a shot. I'm going to be interested to see kind of who steps up and who kind of separates himself into saying like, hey, these are the guys. Week 1 of conference. We're going to roll with.
Do you know who you get the first week in conference?
Ooh.
If you don't, then I was just curious. You said you were looking at the schedule.
I think it's Warrenton or Winfield, one of those two. Because I know we finished with Holt. We usually play St. Charles West in the G.A.C. Classic.
Yeah.
And then I think St. Charles is after that. So I think it's one of
those,
Winfield or Warrenton. Yeah.
So
I think Winfield. If I had to bet, no. It's not. It's Winfield.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Okay, Winfield.
Sorry. Could have looked. You said you were looking at the schedule. I was just curious where you're starting, but sorry, I threw you off.
It was one of those 2 W schools, yeah.
Well, you knew them all. You just figuring out the order.
Yes, correct.
I didn't mean to quiz you on your schedule.
I'm surprised I didn't know it.
That's
as much as I've looked at it.
It happened. I mean, you're excited. First year.
You have no idea.
Gotta go win a conference championship.
Oh, yeah.
At least that's the goal.
That is the goal.
Absolutely.
1,000%.
So you got those, and I see Coomer started 5 games last year. It is Coomer, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it's Cummer. Yep.
Okay. I did not know. Braden? We'll go with Braden.
Correct.
Anyway, he started 5 games last year, so he threw quite a few innings.
He did, yeah. He started off the year as one of our conference guys. I think he struggled a little bit with walks and kind of fell back a little bit, but I'm kind of expecting him. We've kind of talked a little bit.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it's just upstairs. It's hard. Like it's really hard. Like you want to be successful. Every single one of us, everybody that plays wants to be successful. It's understanding and coming to grips with the fact that you're going to fail in this game. And a lot of what separates good from the great is like, can I handle it? Can I turn the page? And I think that's something that he's going to come in this year. I have confidence he's going to be able to do it. And I think he's going to, on the mound, he's going to play a role, whether it be in relief, whether, he works his way into the starting role, which again, he started the year last year as that. So it tells me
he's capable.
He's got some stuff, he's capable. It's just, can he put it together? Like I said, I'm confident he will.
And the mental side, I talked to Adam Shipley earlier, and his biggest thing, he's now pitching at SLU, and he talked about the biggest adjustment he's made is understanding how to stay in the current pitch.
Yeah.
The last pitch is over, next pitch. And it's something that Adam struggled with when he was younger. I talked to him about, and it took a couple years for it to click, but when it clicked,
it's a difference maker. It really is.
You can be as physically gifted as you want, but the mental side a lot of times is a bigger challenge. Like you can be physically gifted, but struggle with confidence. It's hard. It's a hard game. You fail as a hitter. I'm going to fail 70% of the time and still be a good hit.
It's understanding that, if you can understand that and come to grips with the fact like, hey, I just hit a line out.
Yeah.
Shortstop. It's a bummer. Like I wanted to hit there, but again, it's just process driven. Like, okay, I'm doing the right things. It's just a lot of feedback. So
learning what's in my control and what's not my control.
Right.
I can control the controllables. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
You execute the pitch. If they hit over the fence, great job by you.
Tip your cap.
But
Sometimes
I threw
you
a
have to
strike.
tip your cap. Yeah.
Sometimes you get beat.
You have to.
So you have those 4 options. Other options?
So we talked a little about Hankey earlier. He's a lefty. Got a couple innings last year on varsity, but again, he's a guy I could definitely see coming out of the pen for us, whether it be during conference or later in the week. And then Colin Seifert's a guy was on JV last year. He threw the most innings on the team, and he's a guy again that would make that potential jump from sophomore to junior year. We're kind of looking to him to potentially take a role, and again, could he work his way to a starter role? Absolutely. But, if he's a guy that comes out of the pen for us and throws some meaningful innings, like those are super important. It's getting a lot of the goal offensively a lot of the time is get the starter out.
Yeah.
Because, do you have a guy behind him that can throw strikes and be effective? And that's, again, I feel like that's going to be something that we're going to have to find out. Do we have guys that after our main 3, can they come in? Can they throw strikes? Can they get outs? I think that's gonna be the difference between having a potentially good year to great year. Just
Yeah,
that aspect.
those guys that come in after the starters to me they're huge. Without
Such a
those
big role.
guys, it's like the starter can eat up 5 innings and throw greats and give up 1 run, but if the guy coming in gives up 8,
Yeah,
doesn't do you any good.
all for naught. Yeah,
So to come in, and I think a lot of times that gets overlooked because people are like, I want to start, which is great. But I know any successful team I've ever had, it's those guys that come in after the starter that typically are the ones ending the game, because most times in high school with pitch limits, you're not going the complete game.
right.
So you can have a D1 arm, but in the sixth, seventh inning,
He's at 105.
yeah.
He's gotta be
So
out.
someone's got to come in and eat up some innings, and that's a huge role. Sounds like you got some guys that
Yeah.
potentially can do that.
Yeah, and again, they're all going to get their shot. Like I said, we got that 10-game run up before the conference starts to kind of figure out who we are and who can slot into what role. And these guys are going to get a shot, and it's just kind of who's going to take the reins and run with it and secure their spot on the team.
So obviously, new coach, you're the new head coach. Other changes in the staff. I know you said a couple guys back, but
Yeah, so we got Coach Beeler's brand new. He's on the C team. He's coming from us. I think he's coming from Festus. He was our C team coach. If I'm wrong about that, Beeler, I apologize. But he's brand new, younger guy, a lot of energy. He's been great so far. Coach Camp is going to be on JV. He's been at Orchard Farm for a long time, and he's a guy that I'm really going to kind of lean on in regards to kind of helping out with these guys and just culturally,
yeah.
So he's going to be very important for us, and looking forward to kind of getting to work with him a little bit. And then Coach Stringer is going to be back on varsity. So he was there last year as a varsity assistant, and then the year prior he was on JV. So he's coaching basketball right now. But again, great guy, and he'll do anything I ask, which is fantastic. That's what you want in an assistant coach. And again, you've been an assistant coach forever. Like that's what makes a program great. It's not me. It's all of us collectively being able to guide these young men, and having a really good lower level coach, it goes a long way. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and that was something that as a lower level guy, like it was always my goal. Like I wanted to make sure that these guys are prepared for in the last couple of years varsity. Like I'm coaching these guys, and there's a lot of conversations we had. Like I pulled them aside, I'm like, guys, listen, like I get it. Like your goal as a baseball player is not to play for Coach Sugar on JV. Like your goal is to play for Coach Hill on varsity, and that is what it is. But I tell them all the time, it's my job to get you prepared so that when it is your time, you're successful. So again, I have all the confidence in the world in those three guys. They kind of help do that for us, and I'm really looking forward to work with them. And it doesn't get past me how important they are, for the overall program. Like
It's a tough. It takes, and the dynamics within the staff is always interesting because you need someone that is going to push back on some of your ideas.
Oh, yeah.
And be able to refine. I mean, me and Tony over the years have had many disagreements, but at the same time, it was always working towards trying to win and do what's best for kids.
Right, yeah.
And just because I saw something differently than he saw it, it wasn't a right or wrong thing. It was like, hey,
What's best
have
for
you
kids?
considered this?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, I mean, Tony always listened. Sometimes he didn't agree with me, and he would do whatever he needed to do because that's the job of a head coach. But you need someone there to go, hey, I see it differently. And to have guys like that around you, that's huge. Yeah. So hopefully those guys together, you guys can get it all on the same page. Now, I will ask because, again, new head coach, new kind of system. Coming in, do you plan on doing tryouts a little differently? How do you plan on, like, for the guys out here listening going, I don't know what to expect at tryouts, are you planning on having them all together? If you haven't thought about this, but I'm assuming you have. Maybe you haven't. You have them all together and try to see everyone, or split them up? If you don't know, I'm just curious.
In my head, it's right now I want to split between freshman, sophomore, and then junior, senior. And again, obviously Holler, I don't think he's going to be with the sophomore group. I think he's going to be with the junior, seniors. He's earned that right. But to me, again, just coming in brand new, it's like, okay, in each grade level, like who's separating? Who is separating from the group? And that's the one that, again, potentially would have to be moved up. So in my head, that's kind of where I'm at. Again, we've got a couple months, so that can obviously change. But
well, and you trust your lower level coaches. If they see something, they're like, hey, you look at this guy. And that's what everyone doing. Every program does it different. I mean, and that's what, just curious. I know Some programs do, hey, we want to watch everyone. Some just want to watch sophomores through seniors. There's not one way to do it. It's trying to figure out what works for your program.
And that's going to be a lot of year one, is just trying to figure out what works, what doesn't, make adjustments from there. Like, it was you in golf. I watched your guys' interview. It's just like, you guys are never done growing, like ever. So, again, there's going to be adjustments made, and it's going to be a ramp up. It's going to be very unique this year. Like, there's no question about it. Just with, brand new eyes coming in, brand new ideas. And again, hopefully, trying to make this program into something. I really think I think Orchard Farm in general is just about to get, a rocket ship strapped to its back, and it's going to, because there's you got Newtown, you got Charlestown.
A lot of growth over there, yeah.
Like, they're building a brand new neighborhood to the left of the high school now. Like, T.R. Hughes just bought that, so it's like there's an influx of talent. Like, you see football successful, basketball successful, both boys and girls. We've got a lot of athletes there, and I'm hoping that moving forward, baseball can start to kind of follow along with the culture that's starting to get built. But I'm super excited.
And last year, over 500 last year, competitive in the North, like. A lot of people back, so opportunities there.
I say we were young last year, a lot of sophomores, so it's super encouraging. It's just, are they going to take that next step?
Yeah, obviously North, there's some really good teams.
Oh yeah,
and it's going to be competitive like it is every year.
Oh, every single year. Yeah,
make it fun.
Oh yeah.
So I appreciate you coming on and sharing about your guys, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Good luck this year.
Yeah. Appreciate
you have to come out and watch a little baseball down there. So hopefully you enjoyed it, learned something about Coach Sugar and the program. If you did, go ahead and just push you liked, because I liked what he said there. Like, push that. And then if you're like, hey, I have an aunt like Georgia. I don't know why Georgia, but maybe share it with them. Maybe they'll like it too. Everyone will like it. And if you really like all that, push the subscribe button, because that would make me happy, which I don't know if you really care about, but you know what? Why not? I'm a nice guy, as far as you know. Anyway, so hope you have a good day. See you next time.